Warriors, I am very disturbed by a recent story, a headline, a revelation, whatever you want to call it. Our current president, lame duck president Joe Biden, just offered the biggest clemency in history in one day. That would be 1,499 commuted sentences or pardons. I'll tell you why I'm upset. Because of a certain case that we will refer to as Cash for Kids. Now, I remember this case, it was before I was even a warrior. So I saw something on maybe 60 Minutes, 48 Hours, one of these programs. And it was about how this prison industrial complex was making money off the backs of vulnerable kids and their families in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania. And all of a sudden, when I'm looking through this list of pardons and commuted sentences, I'm like, oh no. With all of the people wrongly convicted, let's admit it, in prisons, right? Of all of the women who've been sent to prisons because perhaps they have harmed their trafficker, their pimp. So instead of the pimp or trafficker, because we at the Warriors work on a lot of these stories and know a lot about this, the women end up, they snap. They end up in jails, the prisons, but not the pimp or trafficker. So there's so many people you could commute a sentence, you could pardon, but certainly not this judge. So let me get the facts straight for you. Oh my goodness. This case happened. He was convicted in 2011, right? And he was given 17 and a half years for taking $2.1 million in kickbacks for putting kids in prisons. And I remember it was 4 different child detention centers. And it was something as minor as a child stealing a candy bar from a convenience store, a child who never did anything wrong before, and they were sent to a detention center. So you can see how this is just absolutely wrong. But, people are coming out left and right talking about this. And I want to share with you exactly, so I get the facts straight here, Judge Michael Conahan. And what I don't also understand is in 2020, he was let out of prison due to the COVID situation, the overcrowding, the spreading of it, whatever they were calling it then. And he was allowed to be on house arrest in Florida. I don't know. Did he ever go back to a prison? Was he allowed to stay home on house arrest? A lot of murky details. But his sentence was commuted. And commuted as opposed to pardoned. Pardon means that's it, erased, for lack of a better, for shorthand. Commuted, well, you've served your time, or you can finish it out on house arrest, something of that effect. But again, we have, and I'll list in the body of this video, we have certainly parents who have gone berserk, their children being incarcerated like this, harmed themselves, the big harm. And I say that because we have algorithms here and I'm forced to talk like that sometimes. Because my goal always with the Warriors is getting the information out to you and not being, put in the bottom of a list somewhere, but we'll leave that for another program. So there are certainly plenty of stories where children and families have been ripped apart. Families, always vulnerable, who can't afford lawyers to fight all of this red tape. But this judge, and actually officials in Pennsylvania have put out statements over the years, this was the worst horrific abuse of powers they ever saw. But can you imagine kids for cash, prison industrial complex, a child doing some minor offense like a candy bar or a hard candy or something like that, and having, being put in a detention center, and the poor parents or the single mom who didn't have the resources, nobody would listen to. So I say to, Joe Biden, how dare you? How dare you? Because also included in that list was what they're calling a prisoner swap of a Chinese person who had tremendous amount of CSAM and was convicted of this child sexual abuse material on laptops and things like that. And that person was released. So we know that this child safety is not and has not been a high priority for the Biden-Harris administration. Excuse me, it happens. I felt the sneeze coming on, and there you go. But anyway, this is absolutely incredible. that this is happening. Again, I want to reiterate, so many women, girls in particular, who were under the psychological brainwashing of the pimp and the trafficker, and that have been put in prison, and nobody's helping them. How about we switch all of this onto them, onto vulnerable people? We know the prison industrial complex is alive and well. But I have to say, even I, as a warrior, was shocked when I read that this person was on the list. I say we keep speaking about it. Please share this interview, or not even interview, discussion. I want you to know these things because we have to always remain vigilant. We can never relax for 1 minute. And vigilant for me and you may mean a lot of different things, but vigilant is you share our information, you share our Warriors website, you share our take actions, and you've done your job. That's being a warrior. So let's keep an eye on the ball. We've got 4 years right now to undo a lot of things that were done to harm kids, right? But I'm a big believer 2025, a lot is going to change. Not on our Warriors Watch. We're not allowing any of this to continue. Please remember, subscribe to our channel. Let's get the numbers up. Hit the little bell. Like the videos. Do anything you can to help me help the Warriors. Because I want all of you to honor our hashtag, which is Community Creates Change. Now, each and every day, go out and be a warrior.